Yeah, we just want to give a big shout out to the Hotel Topeka at City Center, letting us come in, use their room. We got a pretty big guest coming on today. Pretty excited about it, but we're pretty grateful for the room. They put us up in this room today, right in the Amber Room. They got all sorts of stuff: swimming pool, lounge, on-site restaurant. Highly recommend.
Free parking.
Free
If you're
parking.
coming down here to come stay at Blizzard Bash, this is obviously the best place to stay.
Yep.
I mean, it's in the same parking lot.
Yeah. This is
Get
the
your
place.
tickets booked or get your nights booked early though.
Got to be booked early.
It books out
No,
fast.
we appreciate the Hotel Topeka at City Center for this. Let's jump right into this pod.
All right, guys, we're back here with another episode of Motorsports Minute. Myself, Brady, and Mitchell. Today we are joined with Sam Williams from Ultimate Derby. Thanks for coming on here.
Absolutely, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it took a little bit of coordination, and gosh, I called this place how many times, but I'm so glad they let us use a room. That was nice of them.
Yeah, thanks to the Stormont-Vale Event Center here.
Yeah, that's a great facility,
And to the
great
Plaza
hotel.
They're helping us out.
Good stuff.
But anyway, you dropped some bombs in demo world news the other day, huh? That's good stuff.
It is. When we sold Blizzard Bash in 2016, 17, in my mind we were done, gonna retire, stepping out of it, and we came and ran here. It was kind of funny. My daughter and I, we got some other interviews over in Kansas City this afternoon, and I said, "Man, here's one of their questions. How are you gonna answer this?" And the question was, why did we get back in? And it was fun to talk to her about it. And she's like, well, you know when it all started? I said, well, I'm trying to remember all that. And so we came here and ran in 2018 with my son and I. We were on a team and we were sitting up in the stands. And my daughter just looked at me and she goes, we really missed this. And I said, miss what? And she goes, we missed the promoting side. And so conversation started then and we started looking for arenas. And so I said, you know what? I'm not doing it by myself anymore. I've done it by myself this whole time and actually drove my family away a little bit. And I said, so if we're going to do it, we're going to do it as the three of us, and my little guy will be coming up behind them. And so they both are 25% owners of the company. And so my son handles all the tech side. My daughter handles all the business side of everything. And I just get to do all the talking. So I guess I BS well, so I guess that's good.
That's good. Yeah, I mean, Ultimate Derby had a pretty good following.
We did.
I mean, not many. I mean, there's always people that complain. That's
Yeah.
every Derby, but you guys everyone always wants Ultimate Derby to come back. So here you guys are.
And we had gotten away from driving a little bit, and we got a little bit arrogant, and we got big business. And I mean, we were running, when you have big arenas and whole hotels and you're dealing with $300,000 and $400,000 worth of contracts, you have to start thinking of it as big business. And, there's got to be we figured out there's got to be a ground in there. When we got back in the cars and figured out, God, when you come run Blizzard Bash, holy crap, we just spent $6,000 on hotels and fuel. And so what are these guys spending out here? And so it definitely gave us an appreciation back for the drivers. Mm-hmm. And it got us back to our roots. And I mean, I got pictures when I was 4 years old sitting on Derby cars. So I grew up in it. My kids are growing up in it. So yeah, it took us a little bit to get back in the right mindset. Those 5 years off was probably the best thing that could have ever happened to us. And now we're just here for the drivers. And honestly, our biggest thing is we just want to put on big productions. We want big productions where the drivers know that when they walk on that track, everybody in the stands know who they are, they appreciate who they are, and they're here for a reason.
Right.
I see you, Ultimate Derby actually teamed up with a few other people as well for the upcoming season.
Yep. So what we did is we teamed up on a heat at our Rapid City show. So the biggest thing is it was actually all my son's idea. He came to me and he said, Dad, there's no true national championship. It just doesn't exist. And he said, what if we invest a ton of money, which I'm like, okay, remember, this is a brand new show. But he's like, what if we invest a bunch of money and we develop a heat? So in that heat, I said, you know what? If you want to do this, you reach out to the people we compete against. You reach out to the Derby. And we'd gotten to be friends with a lot of these guys because we drove their shows. Yep. I said, you reach out to these guys. You explain it to them. And if you get them on board, we'll sit down and talk about it. So he reached out to every promoter. He's built this whole thing himself. With these guys' help. And so, we've got other promoters on board, a couple other ones looking at it. What it'll be is at their events, the flyer just came out with which events it is, and we're going to be adding one or two more to that. But at those events, the top three and the Mad Dog will have the right to come run at a true national championship in Rapid City for a lot of money. It's either going to be $15,000 to $20,000 to win, no entry fee, come out, get treated like royalty. All you got to do is get there. We got you from there. So it'll be one of the best heats we've probably ever put on. No more than 24 to 26 cars is what we're after. Just a one and done, pay everybody good money, everybody who comes. The promoters are actually paying their guys to come. So yeah, we're going to try to do it right. So, yep. Everybody said, did you team up on the whole show? No, we teamed up on a heat. But in that heat we think will grow into its own show. It'll grow into its own heats and feature, and we'll put that on somewhere with those promoters, and there will probably be a combination of it.
Mm. Good. Big deal there. I mean, you got what, 5 or 6 right now?
We got 5 right now. Yep.
5 right now.
All the way into Illinois?
Yep, we're Illinois to Utah. So we're trying to find an East Coast show. We've talked to a couple promoters out there and just trying to find the right show that fits. Promoters got lots of great shows, but it needs to be heats and feature for whatever shows we pick. The only one that's not is Peoria. And we kind of threw that one in there at the last minute going, hey, those top 5 winners. I mean, if you win that heat, those drivers are some of the best in the country. So we felt like if we won that heat, then that would be good. So, it's going to be good. And Rapid City as a whole is, everybody's like, oh my God, the weather in November. You know what? You look back the last 5 years, a lot of people are fly fishing in Rapid City. You could be either way. We could be pushing snow or we could be 50 degrees. So it's just like here. Everybody's like, man, it's 14 degrees in Rapid this morning. Yeah, it's 20 here.
Yeah,
so
right.
It's 6 degrees difference.
Yeah.
Anything under 20, you don't really notice. So it'll be good.
Yeah. Did Rapid get hit with the storm, or
They
did
did.
Deadwood?
Yeah, Deadwood did. Yeah, we got about a foot up where we're at. So, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's all I've been seeing from back home is all the storm talk. So
22 inches at the house.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
But again, and it could be super nice. So we're going into a brand new arena. The arena, the paint is still drying on the walls, and they haven't had very many events in there. And the GM says, "Man, this is nice." I said, "Oh, don't worry, we'll break it in for you. We'll break it in." So no, they're great. We have the new arena. The old arena is where all the vendors will be. The convention hall isn't huge. It's about the same size as Topeka's, but that convention hall is where we'll store all the cars. And then they got 5 big parking lots they're going to let us use. So we have the whole hotel. I booked the entire hotel. So we have 210 rooms on property. That'll be all our hotel. So
yeah, that's huge because Blizzard Bash, everyone wants to get into the plaza. I
Yep.
mean, everybody. And I don't know. It's always hard to get in here. I don't know how many rooms this place has, but
right at 200.
yeah. So
It's always booked.
Always booked.
yeah, waiting lists. So
Yeah.
having a hotel next to the venue is huge.
What's the seating? Do you know what the seating capacity is?
About 7,800.
7,800.
It's about 1,500 to 2,000 more than Topeka.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
It's big.
Big venue.
Big venue.
Yep.
And
Big
and
venue.
they did it right. When they built it, there's a club level that'll get offered to around 200 people can go to that club level. And you pay an extra fee, whatever that is, $90 to $100 to get up there. All the food you want, alcohol you want, lounge chairs. I mean, they just did the arena right.
Right.
And so it's a beautiful arena. And what's great about it is we can secure the whole place. So it's got 6-foot fence around the whole thing where you truly, if you have a pit pass, truly can get behind the scenes. Where here, it doesn't really matter if you have a pit pass or not. You kind of go everywhere.
Yeah.
It's one of those deals that get you into the show an hour early. That's what a pit pass does here.
Right.
But there, it will truly be a guarded gate that you cannot get behind the scenes without it. So, and there's going to be a lot of good stuff there.
Right.
So the city really rolled out the red carpet and they're going to make it work. So it'll be a big event.
Do you maybe you can't say, can you say where the other shows that you haven't announced yet are going to be?
We can't right now because we still haven't signed any contracts. But we've really focused on that East Coast and really working for that Illinois to Pennsylvania area, somewhere in there. But that'll be a lot for my son. I'm kind of on the downhill side of my career and saying, hey, why don't you just keep coming up and you keep taking it over? Him and his sister just absolutely love what they're doing. She does all the marketing. She did the video that we just launched. They'll be kind of taking it from here, and I'll be doing a lot more, just helping them out and making sure that they stay between the buoys we need to stay between.
Yeah, no, it's cool that you made it a family affair. I've watched you guys run too. And do you guys still plan to run cars after?
Yeah, we're signed up for the Rapid City show this summer.
Okay.
So we'll be up there running this summer. And again, we're trying to find good shows to go run at too. So there's a lot of good promoters out there, and there's a lot of big shows out there right now. You take a look at our Peoria show. We accidentally put it right on top of the Wicked Team show. Didn't mean to, but with an arena, I have to get the arena, 3 hotels, convention center, and everything to work. I get like 2 dates a year they let me have. Right. And so that, people go, God, now you're coming after Brandon too. Not at all. Brandon's got an awesome show. That's just the dates that worked out. We knew November was going to be good, so that's why we put Rapid City in November. Trying to get through harvest and trying to get through all that stuff. Try to beat hunting season.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, we understand that. So we do some promoting of our, some shows. Next year we got a few more, but that's a battle we're fighting too. Trying not to stack a show on top of another show, but same deal there. We got an event center or an event that said, gives you this is the days, this day or this day, and you're like, we're gonna do it regardless on one of these 2 days.
Right.
Hands are kind of tied, but
in Rapid City, you take a look at, I need every parking lot. So they have a hockey arena.
Yeah.
And so they're going, what do we do with the hockey team?
Yeah.
Oh crap. Now we need to make sure that the high school football team's got an away game that night because we need their parking lot too. So we have to coordinate with high school across the street. The hockey team's got to be out of town, all this stuff so that they can't have a theater show that week at all
Right.
because I need every parking lot. So it's, they have to go all in too. So they trust us that we can bring this event and do what we say we can do.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's obviously a lot of trust involved too, because you guys haven't ran a show there yet.
Nope.
But obviously, your track record is pretty solid.
We should, hopefully.
Yeah.
it says on you guys gonna have some singles classes.
We are. Yep.
Have you thought about what those may or may not be yet?
We've kicked around about 10 different classes
Yeah.
and just trying to figure out which ones make the most sense. We'll narrow it down to 4 or 5.
Mhm.
Obviously, the single mods will probably be there
Okay.
with used cars because they got to go somewhere
Yep.
because we're not going to run mods in our team show.
Okay.
On our team show, we're going to be right in between limited weld and mods. We're getting rid of the spindles. We're getting rid of the stuff that's tearing the steering out of these cars. We want them to bend a little bit, but not buckle.
Right.
And so, obviously everything ahead of the A-arms is going to be hard. Behind the A-arms, we're going to let them wiggle. And so full protectors, but the cars are going to bend. They're going to go back to looking like cars. Can only dish them so far, all that kind of stuff. Even some of the hardest drivers here are saying it's just too much.
Yeah.
And so we got to tone them back a little bit. And I mean, you take a look, I was standing in the vending hall for an hour this morning and oh my gosh, they said we've sold every part, drivers are breaking every part they got. And so we got to find that fine line between a sticky track, hard track, parts that will bend and not break. And so drivers aren't spending everything once they get here.
Last night, I don't know. I don't know if I've seen that many drive shafts break before. Not even just
that
drive
was
shafts.
wild.
It was the yokes and everything.
Yeah. Spinning right out.
And I was telling these guys that just doesn't break off. You probably lost your rotor, your caliper, everything. Everything shot after that. So
Trannies. I mean, you rip the back of the tranny out. That sucks.
Yeah.
And I mean, you take a look at, you got an 8,000 pound car running on a sticky track, 600 to 700 horsepower in an engine, and you're turning a corner that fast. Something's gonna give. It
time
has
out.
to.
Yeah. Yeah, stuff was flying apart last night, which is wild. But man, people were driving hard.
Yep. Good show. It was
Yeah,
a great
they
show
were.
last night.
Great show.
driving super hard. Yeah, and these guys, it's such a big build. And I look at, Tori and Mike, I've built with them for kind of most of my career. And they're getting burnt out.
Yep.
And they're not young guys anymore either. So who's going to fill their spot in these big builds?
Yep.
And I think we've seen a definite change from the national to the qualifying builds last night.
Yeah.
A huge. Those guys have been putting in the time, but there's a lot of those guys that aren't going to be here next year probably.
Yep. I bought Tori's 2 years ago Blizzard Bash car and ran it, and the amount of work and detail that goes into those cars is just wild. I mean, I do a lot of coyote hunting with Tori, and just sitting out there in the fields talking to him and just picking their brains on how they see the angles and the geometry and the pressures, and it is a whole different league of engineering on the demolition derby side when you get into that national side. And that'll be the trick for us, is try to figure out how to keep that national side and keep the good guys coming back, but yet letting the new guys come in and run. And that's the biggest problem that we see, is it's so hard to get into a hotel, or it's so hard to get into a national qualifying bracket. So it'll be honestly good for the sport, and competition's a good thing. When you take a look at competition, and it's going to raise the bar for everybody.
Mhm.
Their production will raise, my production will raise, because now we're fighting for the same people.
Right.
And so honestly, it'll be good for the sport.
Yeah. And the economy, though, is hurt. It's hurt
Yes.
too. I mean,
Yes.
metal's gone up, gas gone up,
Yep.
hotel, I mean, everything's gone up. So it does make it harder to compete at bigger shows.
Absolutely.
And, so I respect every driver that's here, little or big, been here forever or not. I mean, there's time, there's money. I also feel bad for the teams that can't run because one or two guys got loaded, and, the whole team and their families, everybody put in the time.
Yep.
And
Yeah, that's what we were talking about the other day. We were talking about that a while yesterday with some of the other drivers. It just gets a discussion that's happening, in the pits. I guess some teams show up and 2 guys off their team or 1 guy off their team or 3 guys of the whole team gets loaded, and their whole family, not just them, but all their family and friends and everybody that got hotels to come down here and everything to watch them run. Now they're like,
and you have to pay for the first night at the hotel, so you're already committed. You've already bought your pit passes. You've already bought everything. And, you know, I had that philosophy. We talked about being a little bit arrogant, right? And I won't say one bad thing about anything that's happened in Topeka this weekend. That's their job. I wasn't there. Whatever they chose to do, they chose to do. But I guarantee at our show, you will have the chance to fix it. You may not like the fix, but you will be able to burn with the torch. And whether that's take out the side of a frame rail or that's do whatever, we're going to give you the option to make it right. You know, and that's, you know, I was talking to some guys last night that got loaded on some pretty minor stuff when these cars are so stinking hard. I mean, there's so much metal in them. You know, it's a tough call again. Not my call to make, and it's easy for me to sit back and go, I wouldn't have done it like that. Well, of course not. I'm the guy sitting in the stands.
Right,
you know,
right.
So I get that role this week, and I've been on the other side of it 100 times. So when I go, there's a lot more to that story when I'm underneath the hoist. So the nice thing is I didn't want to come back if I couldn't control that side.
right.
If I can't control the tech side, being a promoter, I don't want anything to do with that side. So where my son has a vested interest to make sure that we stay respectful, fair, and work with the drivers, and he runs that entire side. And I didn't know at 20 years old if people would respect him, because it's like, yeah, you're only 20, bud. You're telling a 40-year-old guy he's cutting his car apart or he's going to load it. You know, and it's been wild to watch him go through all of that and learn how to be respectful to the drivers and all that stuff. And we did not have one bit of fits. And drivers, I tell drivers all the time, man, just call Chris. I'm not answering one thing on the tech side. And the nice thing is Chris has got the personality I don't. I can get elevated quick. I can do all that stuff. He is even keel. He's been on every national stage wrestling. So, I mean, he's on a full scholarship for wrestling. So he's like, Dad, I've just dealt with it. I'm good. And so he's got a great personality for that. And Nicole is she's just business. Dad, just leave me alone. Give me my laptop. I'll make sure the show goes off without a hitch. Perfect, kid. And so it's good. It's a good team.
So did they get all this from you?
The what?
Did they get all the business lingo and everything from you?
They've been in it their whole lives. So I don't know. We've all learned together. You know, it's interesting. I worked in corporate America my whole life. And so I've been around some amazing business minds and being able to relate that back into this sport and saying, hey, let's try this, let's try that. But they see things differently than I do. And we were talking about it the other night as this next generation comes up. They're so much more educated, whether it's videos or this, or, hey, Dad, we should try this because of this. Okay, I would have never thought of that. Where the hell did you get that? You know, and so we talk through that kind of stuff. But it's a whole different mindset the way they think. But they have the old school thinking of the way we did it because that's how they grew up. My daughter was in every time we had a meeting to sell this company. She was 12, 13 years old and wanted to be in every one. We flew my own plane down here. We met with Tim and Russ at the time, and she was in every meeting. I just want to sit in on them, Dad. And I had no idea why. I'm like, she just wants to hang out with her dad. Nah, probably not. But, you know, is one of those things that they've been around it their whole life. So it's fun.
Yeah, it's actually very interesting to hear how invested they are in it, especially her and the business side. Yep. You know, she's taking care of that, marketing and everything. It's just from our side of doing our stuff. You know, the marketing sometimes is the hardest part of the whole job.
Yep. It's a part I hate.
It's a full-time job sometimes.
It is.
I mean, you're trying to get as many views as possible.
Yep.
So
that kind of give you a funny story. I got a bunch of buddies that are, say, they're Facebook pros and everything else in other worlds, and we don't ever talk about our stuff because it is what it is. Yep. And so I sent them, in my fence world, I sent them a picture the other night. After 12 hours, that crazy video that we put out there had been seen 28,000 times. I said, these aren't bad numbers for 12 hours. So, but it's fun. She's done a good job, and we found out what drivers want to see. The flyers are good, but they love the videos. So we started doing a lot more of that kind of stuff and trying to incorporate that into our marketing.
Yeah, I mean, we're in a tech world. And going back to the building, you know, you got drivers now that are making YouTube videos of how to build a frame. You got drivers making videos of how to do this. We're going, well, hopefully the sport moves with the new generation because the new generation is always on their phones.
Yep.
So, yeah, the videos are always a big hit, always. And they're always suspenseful.
Yeah.
I mean, you came out with the first one walking around the stadium. I mean, everyone wanted to see the next one.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And we're learning how to get that build up. And so then we do finally announce. And again, we haven't announced any details yet. Right. So now there's that build up again going, what are they going to do? We haven't announced 1 ounce of prize money. No, we haven't announced anything. And going, okay, how are we going to afford all this? How are we going to do this? How is this going to make sense? And so those are all and it bought us time to build all that, but yet still get the splash out. So that's kind of what we decided to do this week.
Sure. And what do you guys plan to do for streaming service at shows as far as live streaming?
Yep, Derby Tees does all of our live streaming. They do a great job. In fact, I help them. So how pay-per-view came to this sport, kind of a funny story real quick, is we were at Topeka, and I was in year 3. So this would have been 2013, and I could not get anybody here. We were here on a Thursday night, and I had less than 300 people in the stands. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we're going to lose our butts again. And the GM comes down, and at this point, we're full partners. After the first year, we fully partnered on this show. We split everything right down the middle. He gets so much, I get so much, and we all walk away happy. And he goes, how are we going to get your people here? He goes, I can get some locals here, but we got to get your people here. So I'm walking around the stadium, and we start the Derby in an hour. And I said, what's it going to take to get internet here? I said, you guys stream your hockey games, right? He's like, well, we just kind of throw them online. I'm like, okay, what's it take to get the internet here today? And he's like, oh, we got it right to the booth. I said, great. Get a camera set up at the end of the track. Let me call Ustream. I called Ustream, paid them $1,100 just to put it on for the next 3 days. We had 10,000 people watch. The next year is almost full. Yeah. So that's how pay-per-view started. Mark came to me and he said, hey, you're not going to be offended if I start digging into this, right? And I'm like, no, dude, not at all. Right. I need people to be able to see it. And yeah, the pay-per-view numbers are wild. So that's good.
I mean, it's just a reality these days. Not like you said, we talked earlier about how much it costs just for drivers and stuff to come down here, but just for a lot of people that want to come down here, either watch a friend, family member, or just are fans of the sport and, want to come watch a big caliber show like this. You can't afford it. No. A lot of people can't, I can't afford to take, for one, days off of work because it starts because of when it starts, exactly, plus travel time and stuff. Yep. Not everybody can do that, but if I can order it and watch it from the house, then I'm watching.
Yeah.
So your big show in Rapid, is that a 2 or 3 day show?
3.
3.
Yep.
So
we're gonna stuff this entire format into 3 days. Okay. And that's the biggest thing is we always started teching the day before all the way through. Now we're clear back into Monday, Tuesday. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to shorten that time frame back up. I mean, and it's going to be a lot of work. But we've asked everybody, do you want to go back to 8 teams and do the AB feature? Do you want to do, no, we like the full bracket. Okay. If you don't want to run Sunday, it's going to stuff everything in pretty tight. And everybody's all for it. So we're going to try it. And we may end up adding another day down the road. But nope, for this next year, it's just a Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Yep. Everybody goes home on Sunday.
It makes it a little bit easier for, again, one of those things that some people might not think about, but one less day they got to take off work, things of that nature.
Yep.
Or travel on Sunday.
Yep.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. A lot of these teams that are here, I was just talking to one of the team captains, and he's like, man, I'm here Monday to Monday. Yeah. And he goes, I don't get to go back to work till Tuesday. So Mondays are travel days. And so, and that's the biggest thing that a lot of people don't realize is at this show here, 70% of the show comes from more than 7 hours away. So it's a long drive. We are bringing everybody to Topeka, Kansas. Mm-hmm. So if we can take them to Rapid City, South Dakota, again, not taken away from this event, but if we take them to Rapid City, South Dakota, now there's things there to do with your family. There's Mount Rushmore. The caves are still open. A lot of this stuff is still open. Now they've rolled up a lot of the area by November, but there's a lot of good stuff still open. And honestly, we're hoping that they'll come back and run Caleb's show in the summertime, run your guys' stuff in North Dakota, and be able to see an area that they've never seen before. I mean, we're starting a whole ATV rental business. We have a property management company all up in the Deadwood Lead area. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of good stuff for people to come back and enjoy with us. So we'll be promoting all that as well.
That's cool to hear. we go to Deadwood all the time, rent down there, but
just was there.
On the flip side of our obviously promotion company, we started a property company as well. So it I don't know, goes hand in hand, I guess, apparently.
It does.
One works with the other.
Yeah.
To some degree or another.
And I got a girlfriend who's a whiz at that stuff, and she came out of corporate at CVS, and she was done with the corporate life, and I met her in North Carolina. I built a huge manufacturing facility for vinyl fencing. We built an $80 million plant in 16 months, and I was there on a 2-year contract, and I met her out there. And so, yeah, she moved back with me to Deadwood, and she's running all that stuff. So it's a good mixture. We got a lot of irons in the fire right now, but my daughter helps her as well on the marketing side, and she works for that company as well. So it's
awesome.
Good. I got a question for you, though, because you've seen both. You're one of the gentlemen that's north and south ran derbies everywhere, right? Yep. We were talking to some guys, quite a few guys yesterday that were from, I would say, more south and east, I guess, even like Wisconsin and southeast of there. So we've got North Dakota drivers, and North Dakota drivers travel everywhere.
Yep.
They're all over the place.
Yep.
I mean, all the way down here. I mean, everywhere, running shows on the West Coast, the East Coast. It seems to be, though, out of that, say North Dakota, South Dakota, even part of Minnesota, those guys travel like you wouldn't believe too. Not to say other places don't, but they're all over the place. And you got the majority of drivers from, I guess, the belt south of there. They don't come north.
Nope.
We're talking to some guys. They're like, "What is you know? What's your guys' payouts look like at Just show some. We just gave some examples from last year, and they're like, "You pay what?"
Right.
And they're like, "We're down here running. Like, I got to win 5 shows
Yep.
to make what you pay in 1 show." Or like,
Yeah, it's
But-
crazy. Even over in Minnesota, they get 100 cars and they got $1,000 to win a class.
Isn't
And
that crazy?
most all of our shows were $20,000+, throughout the show. But
I mean, our-
5,000 to win, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Minnesota's got a lot of drivers as well, but yeah,
God,
you
they
don't
got
see
drivers.
people traveling
Yeah.
north, but you see them traveling south.
Yeah.
And if you figure that one out, then you guys are way ahead of the game because we've scratched our heads for a long time.
Right.
Because you take a look at Utah. Every weekend we counted up in a 8-day span or 10-day span. It was over $110,000 to win, not total purse. In that many shows in 10 days, just in that little area right there,
Wow.
there was $110,000, and they were pulling 18 cars, 20 cars. But yet nobody goes out there and runs. And I think a lot of it comes down to comfort. Am I going to pull 14 hours just to go get my butt kicked in somebody else's stands?
Correct.
I'm probably just going to stay home and win my 2,000 or 3,000.
Yep.
Right.
And it's interesting the amount of shows that are in that Wisconsin down through Ohio. Smash it. They got 50 some county fairs all in Ohio area. And Dustin's got a lot of great shows over there. So, you got to take a look at just how many shows they have. These guys don't have to travel. Being from
No.
Nebraska, crap, I got to go 2 hours to get to a Walmart. So, I mean,
Yeah.
it's a different mindset, and you're not afraid to travel. I mean,
Yeah.
coming down here, my girlfriend's like, we're driving how far to get to Topeka? Why aren't we flying? No, we're in the Midway. We don't fly.
No.
So, yeah, a 14-hour drive is nothing. You just
Right.
jump in the truck and go. So it's just a different mindset than the East Coast does not in anything, whether it's
Wow.
Derby or anything. They just don't travel and drive, but everything's right there for them.
Yeah. That's how Minnesota, and Wisconsin, but especially Minnesota. I mean, you could stand at one derby and throw a rock and you're going to hit
Yep.
another one.
Yep.
But that's why nobody has to travel.
No.
Like, they can drive their car to the track half the time.
Yep.
Seems, that's how
But
close
they-
the derbies are.
They put the same amount of money in their car and they're going to go run for $400.
Yeah,
I don't
that's-
understand it. Trust me,
Yeah,
we
I know.
have scratched our heads over and over and over and go, how do we get somebody to come to a Pecatonica?
Right.
They go, I'll just stay down here in Champaign. I'll stay wherever and just run that county fair.
Yep.
Right.
And 2 hours away, we're paying $20,000 to win and $50,000 for that feature. And
Yeah.
we'll get a lot of good drivers, but we'll only get 100 cars at that event, probably.
Yeah, it's still exciting for us because, like you said, people are going to see that area, and hopefully it brings them up to our northern area. 'Cause
Absolutely.
everyone always wants more drivers. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
of course, and we have drivers, but they're all getting older, and most of our North Dakota drivers are pretty seasoned, so it's hard to get new guys in because
Yeah.
you got no one wants to come up. Tori and Mike show up.
Right.
They're great drivers.
Yep.
Or you got like Brady and Zach
Bonzer
Bonzer,
and all those guys. Yep.
absolute wheelmen,
Yep.
but
Same difference. Those guys drive.
people are scared of them,
equally as
and-
hard.
so
And those guys are figuring out that they separate and going, hey, where you guys going this weekend? Okay, we'll go the other way. I mean, I know my son went up and ran one right in Brady's backyard, and Brady went out in Montana and ran. So, I mean, everybody's working, going, hey, if you're going here, I'll go over here. And then any new guy who comes in the area is like, crap, I'm going to have one of them.
Yep.
And so, but no, you've got a lot of, I would put North Dakota up there with any state as far as driving. The amount of talent that comes out of there. That's why we love to go run it. That's why we always went to Montana.
Yep.
We ran those shows because, like, man, we're going to go run against some of the best. It's just a blast.
it is.
Yeah, I mean,
There's-
one of our shows this year, not North Dakota, not our timeless show, but one of the North Dakota shows. What was it, Tappan, for instance? Yeah, Tappan. I mean, the amount of experience they're figuring up between the drivers that were just in like the feature was like over 300 years of driving. Just some of these guys in North Dakota, I mean,
we got Shea Walden.
Yeah,
I
like-
think Big Daddy was in there.
yeah,
I
Big
mean,
Daddy out of South Dakota, Shea was in there, Mittleiter was in there.
a lot of years, yeah.
God, there's a lot of years, but we're seeing a lot of guys that have been doing it 15, 20, 30 years still out there driving, but we're not seeing a lot of these younger kids getting into it that, like we were when we first derbied, they're 15 years old and jumping in a car for the first time. You're not seeing a lot of those kids coming in, so we're trying to do some things to maybe change the course of that. Or
It's tough for them to be able to pay their dues.
Yep.
You take a look at my daughter's boyfriend just spent the last 3 days at Shea's farm. He's like, Shay's off working and I'm building this car. I'm like, dude, you're paying your dues. You look what you're learning. Just
Yeah.
shut up and weld. And
Right,
that's,
right.
I mean, that's where these young guys have got to have this work ethic. And he's an awesome kid. I mean, he's a great kid. He's really picking up fast, but he's either with Chris, Shay, somebody all the time.
Right.
And the great thing is, Chris decided which college he was going to go to. He had a half ride scholarship to Ohio State, he had a half ride scholarship to NC State. Aberdeen offered him a full ride. And he's going, but Shay's 45 minutes away. DC lives right there. I'm going to go to Aberdeen because that's where my friends are. And so
Right,
this
right.
Derby community stays together. And I'm telling you, if I think Chris is quiet or something, I can call DC and say, hey, man, how's he doing? He's doing all right. It's college
Yeah.
struggle. So
Yeah.
the nice thing is I got those people looking out for him too. So
Right.
these young guys come up, and if they'll pay their dues, the older guys will take them under their wing, but they need to be respectful and pay their dues.
Absolutely.
There's some drivers here, driving the national teams that are 10 years younger than I am.
Yep.
And they got some nasty cars.
They do.
But you can tell some of these guys put in the time.
Yep.
Like Fredericks, he's not very old, but look at who his dad is.
Yeah.
Right.
He
Awesome
learned,
family.
He learned the right way how to,
did.
he's got a great mentor there. And you can tell in his builds and the way he drives that he's chasing the right people around.
Yeah. And I've watched him get his tail
Crazy.
kicked since he was 16 years old
Yeah.
at our Iowa shows.
Yeah.
And going, Lane, just hang in there.
Yeah.
The guys are going to stop beating on you. You're all right.
Right.
And Chris and Justin would do everything they could to protect him. But at the end of the day, they're going, hey, he's taking his lumps like everybody else is, and
Yeah.
he's going to learn through it.
right.
And I seen him get into some nasty heats, wheel his way out of it. And I'm like, see, he'll be just fine.
Yeah.
And so it's fun to watch these guys come up. Cordell Hansen, he was a young punk, mouthy
Oh, yeah.
kid when he first came to our shows. Now he's one of our head techs and best friends. So I mean, it's fun to watch these guys come up through the ranks, and their builds are just phenomenal.
Yep.
So, are you guys going to get into any compacts or vans or anything like that, or just stay predominant on the full size
On the
cars?
on the team show,
Well, team show, other shows. I mean, do you guys dabble in some of
we
that?
have compacts in almost every one of them. One of the big compact drivers reached out to us yesterday and said, hey, let's put together a compact team show for Rapid City. So I think we're going to end up doing that. The biggest thing is finding a good compact tech has been our biggest battle. Finding somebody that it's such a small pool
Mhm.
of guys that know all the different styles of cars. And
Yeah.
the big cars, I can get a net and go find them.
Yeah.
With the small cars, I'd say that's our biggest battle because we just don't build them in our shop.
Right,
So
same.
we can't mentor somebody up through. So no, that I would say that's our biggest battle. So if there's a good compact tech out there that wants to call Sam Williams at Ultimate Derby. Just kidding.
Yeah, for sure. It's tough though. We ran into that too.
Yeah, I mean-
Compact techs are hard because
They are.
on the flip side, we also the guys that we could reach out and ask, they're running our shows. So
Absolutely.
it's like I don't want to take away
I don't
from
wanna
that
ruin the
either.
driver.
Yes. So it is tough.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Hey, I could help, but I'm going to be running.
Yeah.
Or I could help, but I'm going to be running a different show that day and, a different class or whatever. So finding retired drivers
Yep.
or guys that maybe are stepping back for a while that want to come help out. It's always the battle. And then somebody that, you can't just know cars.
No.
to be a tech.
No.
You got to know cars, but you got to be able to deal with people.
100%.
And some people are like, I don't want to get yelled at.
Austin Johnson actually came up as a compact tech for us, and that's how he came in was through
Okay.
compacts. And I said, we're looking for a good compact tech. I got this guy over in Missouri. Let me call him. And so Austin came up that way. Well, he was so good at everything else. We're pulling you to the big car side.
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden, then we lack in the compacts again. So the biggest thing is those guys are getting probably not the respect they deserve, and that's the biggest thing that we're trying to change in ours, because we said we're not going to ever put a heat on or something that we can't do the same service I can do across the board.
Right.
And so that's the biggest thing is as we grow everything else, compacts are going to grow with us, and we're definitely going to give them the respect they deserve. So
They put in just as much time as the rest of them. I mean, that compacts, they went into the full cradles and everything else.
100%.
So
and they usually put on, honestly, at our shows, they put on some of the best shows. They do a phenomenal job.
that's the truth.
Yep.
That's
Absolute
I highly
truth.
agree with that. I'm a compact driver, so I agree with that. But that's what we hear as a lot of times they put on some of the best shows sometimes. Especially with car counts fluctuating a lot. For a few years there, the compact guys were showing up in numbers.
Exactly.
Across the board, not just North Dakota, but all over the place. Compact guys were showing up. I mean,
Yep.
a lot of shows in Minnesota that were compact based. 115 cars show up. Mini Meltdown, that's just a wild show out there. But that was one thing that I was saying. Their payouts when they competed a lot of times with big shows or big cars and small cars. A lot of times their payouts were a tenth of what the big cars were paying out. But there was 20 more cars. But things are tables starting to turn. And, turn for there. A lot of shows are starting to recognize that. Sometimes compacts show up ready to battle.
And that's the biggest thing is if we have a one-off event, a singles event, they all pay the same.
Exactly.
I don't care if you're trucks or if you're mods or if you're compacts. It's the same. Youth class, we do a little bit lower entry fee, but everything outside of youth class, everything's exactly the same. Same entry fee, same payout. It's across the board.
You run a lot of youth classes? You see a lot of those?
We run youth class. It's funny. You can watch me run in youth class when I have youth coming up. So again, that's probably my selfishness. But no, I think that watching the kids come up has been awesome. We ran them at Peoria, and the biggest thing we did is anybody under 16, a parent or someone who understood derby cars had to be in the car with them, with a brake on their side. And so, I had a guy ask me last night, "Hey, my daughter's 12. How's young? My 11-year-old will most likely be out there next year." But again, I got a seasoned driver in there that can reach the shifter and has a brake. As long as we're there, if the kid can reach the pedals and you want to sign a waiver, yeah, let's let them play. It don't matter to me.
Right.
But they're in full-size cars, and they do well. So we love the youth class, and I'd say it's going to continue to grow. And actually, Frankie out there on the East Coast has got the big youth national championship, and so he asked if Peoria could be a qualifier for it. And I said, absolutely, man. You kick us some of your full-size drivers, we'll kick you some of our youth drivers. And so that's where these promoters are going to really start working together. They have to, otherwise the sport's never going to grow.
Correct.
We got to get it somewhere.
Yep. Getting people on the same page with rules is always
Big time.
part of the problem, especially with the smaller shows. This show wants to run this style rules. This show wants to run this style rules.
This national championship thing, though, is the first step for us.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like we got to get some of the biggest promoters to agree to a heat.
Yep.
Then we'll agree to a set of rules. Then we'll all agree to a league. And then we'll see where it goes from there. Again,
Right.
That's a 5-year picture of hopes.
Right.
At the end of the day, I know I can do a heat.
Right, because it's obviously going to grow. So in the future, are you going to be more willing to, use more shows to top 3 or top 2 or top even 1 from shows kind of all over?
Yes.
That's kind of the
Yep.
Okay.
And what we're doing is for these promoters that we're coming in now is we're paying for their hotel room to come to Rapid City. We're putting them up right with our staff, and their techs will actually be on the berm for that heat. So you'll see different jerseys all the way around the track for that heat to show that we're all working together. Then what we want to do is sit down with those 24 drivers and say, hey, we pretty well paid for your whole weekend. Now give us an hour.
Right.
Where do you guys want to see this growing? What can we do here? Because without those drivers, we're a nobody.
Absolutely.
And so that's the biggest thing that we're going to try to do at Rapid is that'll be the laying the groundwork to show that we can all work together. And now let's get the drivers involved.
Right.
Right.
Cool.
Good things.
Yeah, I don't have anything else, and I know Sam has to hit the road.
You got
so
to get going. Yeah, we're
Yep.
pushing your time clock here.
We
I know.
got interviews over in Kansas City, and we're working on a reality TV deal. So hope to God it works out. If it does, great. If it doesn't, so be it.
Yeah.
sure. Well,
Perfect. Well,
Yep.
thanks for coming, Sam.
yeah, I know. Huge appreciation for you showing up today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys.
You guys want to check anything out? This obviously will be up on Tom's Motorsports page. Sam Williams has some big news coming out. Check for updates. They got their Ultimate Derby Facebook page, obviously where the videos drop there. Stay tuned. Got some more news coming.